I've already made a video covering a very particular bug currently going on with the Tessellation exotic fusion rifle that allows for infinite explosion round fire. But today, I want to try to tackle a slightly different question. Is the Tessellation exotic fusion rifle worth pre-ordering the final shape and annual pass combo for? That question will probably have a different answer for everybody, but if it's something you're on the fence about, why don't we see if we can hammer that one out today? Okay, rewind. By pre-ordering the final shape and the annual pass combo, a cool 99 buccarinos, you get the ability to unwrap and use the Tessellation. After dropping that coin, you head over to the new kiosk at the tower, and it should be waiting for you there. Kinda looks like the type of gun that would make your enemy produce
terror sweat.
But I digress. First, why don't we recap how the weapon works, then we'll move on to the positives. Everything great Tessellation brings to the table and why you might want to get it now. And then we'll embrace our inner elitist dado and talk about all the reasons why you shouldn't pre-order to get this gun now. Alright, how it works. Tessellation is a 660 charge rate fusion rifle, meaning that under the hood we're looking at an adaptive frame. While it does go in the energy slot, Tessellation doesn't have a permanent energy type when you hover over it in the menu. The exotic perk property undecidable makes it so that the weapon's damage type will match whatever your subclass is at the time. Much like you trying to blend in awkwardly at a party where you don't know anybody, Tess can be many different things, whatever it needs to be. Final blows with the gun also grant grenade energy, which is a nice little tie-in to the next perk she brings to the table, property irreducible. Long hold the reload button and your gun eats your entire grenade ability charge to make the next shot a projectile that generates an elemental explosion on impact. TLDR, lose your grenade charge, but your next shot is basically a mini rocket. Neato burrito. Alright, all aboard the Shill Express. Why don't we talk about the positives? Because Tess is more flexible than your mom after a few wine coolers, the fusion rifle can fit into a lot of PvE builds no problem. If you're playing Arc, it can mesh with fragments like Spark of Discharge or Spark of Beacons. If you're playing a Strand build, it can mesh with things like Thread of Rebirth. If you're playing Solar, it can mesh with Ember of Tempering, and you get the idea. Also, because it can be literally any energy type in the game, Tess is the only weapon capable of being a permanent strand or stasis weapon in the energy weapon slot. All other strand and stasis weapons go in the kinetic slot, meaning that Tess can allow you to either double up and go with a double stasis or double strand weapon loadout, or it can let you mix and match stasis and strand weapons outside of the power weapon slot. Might not sound like a lot, but that flexibility can let you do some stuff that falls under a tiny little, kinda nice umbrella. Things like having both your special and primary weapon be able to benefit from the exact same holster, scavenger, surge, or loader armor mod, if you happen to be rocking a double strand or double stasis weapon loadout. Again, not world-changingly nice, but yeah, kinda nice. In terms of immediate punching power, Tessellation's regular fire mode is nothing to write home about, but the alternate fire is definitely fun, and it actually hits harder than I was originally expecting. Just a quick visit to everybody's favorite punching bag, Carl, poor guy, and just one shot of Tessellation's alternate fire mode dished out a respectable 144,936 damage. Positives in the PvP department. My commentary in my initial video covering the permanent alt-fire glitch mode was fairly scathing in PvP, but there are some upsides. Like all fusion rifles, if you play with a controller, Tess can put in decent work in normal fire mode. It might take a little planning and peek shooting, but landing a straight shot with the alternate fire mode feels really good, and you can damage people around corners and behind Titan barriers kinda easy, which is fun. Alright, we played nice. Why don't we enter knives out mode for just a moment? The negatives. Reasons that Tessellation isn't worth you dropping your hard-earned dollary dues and why you should buy Hooked on You instead. PvP first, since that is fresh in my mind. Why in the name of 8-pound, 6-ounce, newborn infant baby Jesus would I ever walk into PvP with a shiny new 660 charge rate fusion rifle when my crafted Techian is sitting right over here? And yeah, I know I can't fully critique a new gun just because it's not as good as this one over here, but it's kind of a really noticeable problem with Tessellation, not just the Techian fusion rifle specifically. The fact that on both sides of the fence, PvP and PvE, Tess has fierce competition. Being a man of class myself, I prefer shotguns in PvP. But when the mood hits me right and I want to voop a dude or two, I got a lot of good options. To pick up where I left off, Techian is a primo option. Same charge time, fully craftable and with perks that historically go hard on fusion rifles. And yeah, these perks did receive a little bit of tweaking lately, but they're still solid. Don't have a Techian? That's fine, because there's still a handful of other beast options out there. Both versions of Zur Ingredient, the Iterative Loop, also craftable by the way, Cartesian Coordinate, and the Adept Plug 1, to name a few. Yeah, they're different charge rates, but they're all damn good in PvP, and let me tell you, in the PvP department, the god rolls of those fusion rifles I just mentioned feel way more consistent than Tess. Let's talk about alt fire mode for a minute. As mentioned, getting either a direct shot or a near direct shot and then swapping to another weapon to finish the kill feels really good. And even though my glitch video included a lot of nice clips where I smoked some poor jabroni mindlessly running at me, believe me, there were an equal amount of moments where I got straight up bopped and wanted nothing more than to put on a better feeling, more consistent fusion rifle. I think the hardest part to swallow about the alt fire mode is the fact that it takes your entire grenade charge to activate. That's kind of a lot. Most meta builds in PvP have at least one really good grenade option in their kit. Osmia Warlock, Young Ahamkara Hunter, Widow's Silk Grapple Hunter, Touch of Thunder Lightning Grenade Titan, and giving up that part of your kit to fire one shot that has both a charge up time and a travel time and can only get a one shot by hitting the enemy dead on? That is kind of a big ask. Jotun does the same thing without your grenade charge, and it tracks enemies for you, and I hate that gun. On the PvE side of the fence, we kind of have the exact same problems. Giving up your grenade in PvE might actually be a little bit wilder, because enemies in PvE are dumb as a brick with a one-track mind, as well as far weaker, making your grenade fairly lethal in PvE without much thought. The Tessellation explosion in PvE does hit pretty hard though, so at least the trade-off might be a little bit more fair. But like PvP, Tess has competition in PvE. Again, alt fire mode does hit beefy yellow bar boys fairly hard, but because it's a one and done deal that relies on your grenade charge to pull off, it can often leave you feeling pretty high and dry when your shot is gone, especially if there's more than one tough enemy that needs to be blown up. And if that is the case, it might be better to view Tess as more of a fun weapon that can occasionally do quality burst damage to big boys, but more often than not will be used as fun ad clear. And if that is what Tess is going to be used the most for, then oh boy, is it in trouble, because yeah, the gun is creative and fun and beautiful, but you're high if you think I'm going to use that thing over my crafted forbearance, which can clear out half the room in one shot and doesn't even take up my exotic slot. Again, though, just like in PvP, the problem isn't really limited to only one competition gun. How about Quicksilver Storm, the alternate fire grenade launcher mode, which you ramp up by using the weapon normally, hits Carl for 73,146 damage, meaning that with just 2 of the 3 grenades I can fire, I already outdamaged the burst shot from Tess, and I do it without using my grenade ability with the primary weapon. How about Wither Horde, which deals up to 147,828 damage to Carl in just one shot. Again, also handles trash ads very well, doesn't use up my grenade ability, and I can also swap to a different weapon while still dealing damage, so I can deal more damage. You're picking up what I'm putting down, I'm sure. New exotics entering D2 right now have such a high bar to hit, it's not even funny. And by the way, not saying it's all doom and gloom for Tessellation. We seem to be getting weapon changes and sandbox tweaks from Bungie more often than usual these days, which is nice, and if the powers that be decide that she needs a little bit more oomph, she'll probably get it. I also have to imagine that at some point there will be an exotic catalyst as well. At least I hope so. If you're a new player, if you don't really care about min-maxing or whatever, and the gun looks fun to you, pre-order it. Not every decision you make in the game has to be purely focused on if the gun is a top-tier option or not. Sometimes people just click with guns they think look enjoyable, and this definitely could be one of those guns for a lot of people. Not to mention there's probably a lot of people out there who don't have all those other weapon options I've been bringing up, and yeah, you get what I'm saying. But if you were hoping that Tess was going to be a hot new exotic with unique potential to completely shake up the meta, maybe something more akin to what conditional finality has done to PvP, probably not. At the end of the day, make the call that only you can make, because everybody is different. If you pre-ordered Final Shape and have used Tessellation a lot, let me know what your thoughts are on the gun down in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on stream.